Was the HMS Hood doomed before it was even built? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Standard Issue, where we have all the answers to your standard military questions and topics. And today we're examining whether the HMS Hood was doomed before it was even built. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the HMS Hood was a British Royal Navy battlecruiser that was laid down in 1916, launched in 1918, and commissioned in 1920. Now, this might be a spoiler alert for the story, but the HMS Hood was lost in the Battle of Denmark Strait during World War II. But to see whether it was actually doomed before it was even built, we have to go to the previous war of World War I, in the Battle of Jutland. The 1920s gave us many new technologies and weapons, including the battlecruiser, a ship that was designed to have the same weapons as a battleship, but to be lightly armored so it could outrun most battleships. Its main armor would be speed. And while this all sounded good in theory, it never was practically tested against heavier armored ships until the Battle of Jutland. In terms of fleet composition, the British Navy outnumbered the Germans in total ships and in number of capital ships. The British had 12 more battleships than the Germans and 4 more battlecruisers. Yet, during this battle, the British lost more men, tonnage, and capital ships. 3 total battlecruisers were sunk in the Battle of Jutland. And that's where they realized that speed was not much of a defense against the German shells. At the time of the battle, 4 more battlecruisers were on order for the British Royal Navy of the Admiral class, one of which was the HMS Hood. But after the crushing defeat of the battlecruisers in the Battle of Jutland, it was known that something had to be done. 5 tons of additional armor was planned for the HMS Hood, and it would be the only of the 4 planned Admiral class battlecruisers to be built, and it would be the very last British Royal Navy battlecruiser ever to be built. Now, this additional armor was added to the armored belt around the ship. That's the part of the ship you actually see, the silhouette of the ship. And this significantly increased the armor in terms of British standards for armor for their ships, but it was still weak compared to its counterparts, Germany. And while the sides of the ship received an armor upgrade, the decks really did not. The theory at the time was to have multiple decks, and that the first deck would detonate the round, and subsequent decks would be left unharmed. And like I said in the beginning, the Hood was actually launched in 1918 and fully commissioned in 1920, so it did not see action in World War I, and the British could not see how their plans and upgrades would affect the HMS Hood. But it was considered one of the most beautiful ships at the time, considering its immense size but its very sleek profile. And a lot of people didn't even consider it a battlecruiser, more like just a fast battleship. The Hood had a relatively uneventful peacetime, except for maybe a physical run-in with HMS Renown on accident. That's neither here nor there. But then World War II broke out, and the ship saw immediate action. Escorting the wounded British submarine, the Spearfish, back from the North Sea, the Hood received a 250-kilogram bomb from a Junkers 88 that would eventually cause the ship to have to be refit to loss in engine power. After this refit, the ship took part in Operation Catapult, an effort by the British to convince French ships to join their effort after the French had already signed the armistice with Germany. The HMS Hood engaged one of the French battleships, and the HMS Hood only received minor damage in return. After Operation Catapult, the HMS Hood returned back to home waters. That was until May 1941, where the HMS Hood then joined a task force to chase after the Bismarck, who was running to the Atlantic. At 1:30 local time, the Prince of Wales spotted the Prince Eugen and the Bismarck. 20 minutes later, the HMS Hood be firing on the lead ship, the Prince Eugen, and 3 minutes after that, the Bismarck and the Prince Eugen would both return fire to the HMS Hood. Somewhere between this time and 2 o'clock, the Hood was struck once. But at 2 o'clock exactly, as the Hood was turning to get its rear guns into the fight, the Hood was once again struck, this time by one of Bismarck's shells falling through the aft magazine. The shell was shot from over 16,000 meters away from the Bismarck. At this range, the shell wouldn't travel in a straight line trajectory and hit the armored belt of the HMS Hood. The Bismarck shell was shot from so far that the shell plunged into the top deck of the Hood. The shell penetrated with its delay fused and detonated on the magazine, causing the ship to instantly break. The ship sunk in less than 3 minutes, claiming all but 3 of its 1,415 men. And while the Bismarck was the one that fired the fatal shot to the HMS Hood, people such as myself believe that the Hood was really doomed by its leadership and use in the battle. Because many people consider it just a fast battleship or a slightly less armored battleship, they really underestimated the power of what a real battleship could do to such a lightly armored ship. The sinking of the HMS Hood was not only the destruction of a prized British Royal Navy ship, but it was also the sinking and the destruction of the idea of ever using battlecruisers again as a replacement for battleships, or that speed could be armor. I hope you guys found this video interesting and informative. If you did, go ahead and subscribe and join us every Tuesday for more videos. But until then, stand at ease.